You ever have one of those normal afternoons with your mom where everything feels completely fine, like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, but something small just doesn't sit right?
The afternoon felt ordinary in the best way, sunlight coming through the kitchen window, the quiet hum of the fridge, my mom standing across from me, smoothing out the wrinkles in my shirt like she'd done 100 times before. I remember thinking how steady everything felt in that moment. I'm Lena, 19, about to start nursing school, and this was just a regular day at home with my mom before everything changed. She smiled at me, soft and familiar, telling me how proud she was, how all her sacrifices were finally paying off. It sounded like something she'd said before, something I trusted without questioning. But then her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it just for a second, and her expression tightened. Not fear, something sharper. She locked the screen quickly, forcing the smile back. And for the first time, something about it didn't feel right. She turned away from me a little too quickly, picking up the phone like it had burned her. I pretended not to notice, grabbing my bag from the chair, but the moment lingered small, quiet, easy to ignore if I wanted to, and I did want to ignore it. Things between us had always worked better that way. Your orientation starts early tomorrow, right? She asked, already moving toward the sink, her back to me now. Yeah, 8 a.m. I watched her rinse a glass that was already clean. I'll take the bus. She shook her head immediately. No, I'll drive you. First day matters. That was my mom, Diane Carter, always stepping in, always making sure things looked right on the surface. And for most of my life, that had been enough. We didn't have much, but she made sure we looked like we did. Smiles in public, tight budgeting in private. It was just how things were. I picked up the folded acceptance letter from the table, running my fingers over the edge. It still doesn't feel real, I said. She turned back to me then, her expression soft again, almost practiced. It's real because I made it real, she said, half joking, but not entirely. You think nursing school pays for itself? I smiled, because that's what I always did when she said things like that. I know, and I'll pay you back one day. Her eyes lingered on me a second longer than usual. You will, she said quietly, one way or another. Something about the way she said it made my chest tighten, just slightly. Not enough to question, just enough to notice. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she didn't pick it up right away. We both looked at it. The screen lit up just enough for me to catch a glimpse, something from a bank, maybe. A notification. Numbers. She grabbed it quickly, turning it away before I could read more. Just spam, she said, too fast. I nodded, but she didn't meet my eyes. Instead, she walked out of the kitchen, already dialing someone as she went. Her voice dropped low, sharp in a way I hadn't heard before. We can't keep doing this, she muttered. I stood there alone, the hum of the fridge suddenly louder than before. A few minutes later, she came back like nothing had happened. Same smile, same calm tone. Go meet your friend, she said, waving me off. Don't be late getting home. Everything slipped back into place so easily it almost convinced me nothing had changed. Almost. Because as I stepped out the door, I heard her say one more thing under her breath, so quiet I wasn't even sure I was supposed to hear it. Some things just aren't worth the cost anymore. I paused on the porch, my hand still on the door. For a second, I thought about going back inside, but I didn't. And that was the last normal decision I made before everything broke. Before everything fell apart, I thought I understood my mom. Or at least, I thought I understood the version of her she let me see. The hospital room was quiet, except for the steady rhythm of machines. A soft, mechanical breathing filled the space mine, controlled by something that wasn't me. I couldn't see it yet, couldn't feel it fully, but somewhere deep under the darkness, there was awareness. Not movement, not control, just presence. Voices came and went. Doctors first measured. Clinical. Severe trauma. But she's young. That works in her favor. There's swelling, but we've stabilized her. Then my mom. Her voice was different here, softer, fragile in a way that sounded real. She's all I have, Diane said, her words breaking just enough to convince anyone listening. Please, just do everything you can. And they did. Hours blurred into something shapeless. Time didn't move normally. It stretched, folded, disappeared, but certain moments cut through. Like when a doctor explained the situation clearly. She's in a coma, he said. But this isn't hopeless. With continued support, there's a strong chance she could regain consciousness. A pause. A normal person would have asked how long. Or what recovery would look like. My mom asked something else. How much is that going to cost? There was a shift in the room, subtle but there. The doctor hesitated. We can go over financials with administration, but right now the priority is I need to understand what we're committing to. She interrupted, more firmly now. That softness? It flickered. Later, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Her voice again, but this time lower, sharper. We can't afford this long term, she whispered to someone on the phone. I don't care what they're saying, numbers matter. A nurse passed by, slowing just slightly as she heard. And then, another moment, the doctor returned, more direct this time. With time, she could wake up. Silence followed. Too long. Long enough to feel wrong, because instead of relief, there was hesitation. That was the first real crack. And it didn't close. That night, in a dim hallway just outside my room, my mom asked a question that didn't sound like it belonged to a mother at all. How long would we have to keep paying if she doesn't wake up? It wasn't fear in her voice. It was calculation. And something about that question changed everything. I heard everything. They just didn't know I could. At first, it was fragments, voices bleeding through the darkness, words slipping in and out like echoes underwater. But then it sharpened, became clearer, real. I couldn't move, couldn't open my eyes, couldn't even tell if I was breathing on my own, but I could hear. And what I heard didn't leave room for misunderstanding. Given her condition, the doctor said carefully, standing somewhere near my bed, we strongly recommend continuing life support. She's stable, and there's a real possibility she regains consciousness. A pause. Then my mom spoke, flat, steady, decided. Let her die. We're not paying for this. The words didn't hit all at once. They settled slowly like something cold seeping in. The doctor didn't respond immediately. Miss Carter, I understand this is overwhelming, but your daughter, she wouldn't want this. My mom cut in, her voice tightening. She wouldn't want to be a burden. She's always said that. That wasn't true. I tried to move, tried to force something, anything, but my body didn't respond. I was locked inside it, listening as my life was reduced to a cost. We need time to evaluate, the doctor said, more cautious now. These decisions aren't made this quickly. I've made it, she replied. What happens if we stop? How long does it take? Silence again. Different this time. Heavy. Papers shifted. A pen clicked. I can have someone walk you through the process, the doctor said slowly. Good, my mom answered, because we're not dragging this out. Footsteps. The door opened, closed, and just like that, she was gone, already moving on, already talking about something else. I could hear her voice faintly in the hallway, sharp and irritated. This shouldn't be this complicated. Inside the room, everything stayed still, except me. Because in that moment, trapped, silent, fully aware, I understood something with absolute clarity. She didn't hesitate. She didn't struggle. She chose money.
Hold up. She didn't even hesitate. She just said let her die over money. Am I missing something here? Or is this really who she is?
And I made a decision of my own. I wouldn't forget this. And when I woke up, I wouldn't say a word. 24 hours later, I opened my eyes. The light was too bright at first, sterile, overhead, unforgiving. My body felt heavy, like it didn't belong to me yet. Every breath was shallow, unfamiliar, but I was awake, fully, undeniably. Voices rushed in almost immediately. "Lena, can you hear me?" a nurse said, stepping closer, her tone shifting from routine to urgent. "Blink if you can hear me." I did. Everything moved quickly after that machines checked, monitors adjusted, footsteps multiplying in the room. A doctor appeared, relief barely contained behind professionalism. "This is remarkable," he said. "She's responding far sooner than expected." Sooner than expected. I almost laughed if I could. Someone called my mom. I heard it happen. "She's awake. You should come now." Minutes later, the door opened hard. "Oh my God, Lena!" Diane rushed in, her voice cracking perfectly on cue. She was at my bedside in seconds, grabbing my hand, pressing it between hers like she'd never let go. "I knew you'd come back to me. I knew it." I looked at her. Really looked. Every detail felt sharper now, her expression, the tension behind her smile, the way her grip tightened just a little too much. And I said nothing. Not when she cried. Not when she laughed through her tears. Not when she leaned close and whispered, "You scared me so much. I just watched. Doctors asked questions. Simple ones. Can you understand us? Do you know where you are?" I nodded when I had to. Bare minimum. They called it recovery. They didn't know it was restraint. Hours passed. Tests, checks, quiet conversations just outside the door. And in between it all, I started paying attention to everything. "Can I have my phone?" I asked eventually, my voice rough, barely there. My mom hesitated just for a second. "Why?" "You should rest," she said quickly. "I just need it," I replied. The nurse glanced between us, then handed it over. That same nurse, the one who had slowed in the hallway before. Her eyes lingered on my mom a little too long. Something unspoken passed there, and for the first time, I saw it clearly. My mom wasn't in control anymore. She just didn't know it yet. Later that evening, she stood by the window, arms crossed, watching me too carefully, trying to read me, trying to figure out what I remembered. I met her gaze, calm, steady, not broken, not confused, just quiet. And in that silence, something shifted, because Diane thought she got away with it. She thought whatever happened in that room, those words, that decision had disappeared with my coma. She was wrong. By the next morning, everything started moving, just not in the way my mom expected. The nurse who had lingered the day before, her name was Claire, filed a report. Not dramatic, not emotional, just precise. Timeline, statements, concerns. She'd heard enough in the hallway, and what she didn't hear directly, she noticed in patterns questions about cost before care, urgency where there should have been hesitation. That report triggered a review. Hospital administration got involved first, then ethics, and then legal. I didn't rush anything. I didn't confront her. I didn't even change how I acted around her. That was the part that mattered most. I let her believe the silence meant safety. When they asked me questions, I answered them simply. Yes, I heard her. Yes, I was aware. No, she didn't hesitate. They checked everything else. Insurance records, financial activity. And that's where the part she thought was hidden surfaced. 3 months before my accident, my mom had taken out a life insurance policy on me. A large one. The kind you don't take out unless you're planning ahead. Suddenly, her urgency made sense to everyone in the room. Within hours, everything shifted. She was called into a private office on the same floor, told it was about finalizing documentation. She walked in composed, already prepared to play the role again. But this time, the room was different. An administrator, a legal representative, and me, sitting upright, waiting. She froze when she saw me there, not shocked that I was awake, but something deeper. Like she realized all at once that the version of events she'd been relying on didn't exist anymore. They laid it out calmly. Statements, timeline, financial motive. She tried to interrupt at first, small denials, quick corrections. Then it shifted. I was thinking about her quality of life, she said, her voice tightening. You don't understand what she would have wanted. That's not true. My voice cut through the room. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. She turned to me slowly, and for the first time since I woke up, I didn't look away. You chose money over me, I said. No emotion, no hesitation, just the truth, exactly as it was. Whatever she was about to say next collapsed before it reached her mouth. Within 24 hours, everything she had built unraveled. The hospital formally reported her for attempted medical neglect. The insurance company opened an investigation into fraud. Her accounts were flagged and temporarily frozen. Her employer, already contacted, placed her on immediate suspension pending review. It didn't stop there. Family members who had believed her version of events started asking questions. Then they started pulling away. Calls stopped. Messages went unanswered. The image she protected so carefully, the devoted mother, the one who sacrificed everything, disappeared faster than she could rebuild it. And I didn't have to do anything but tell the truth. A few weeks later, I left the hospital. Recovery wasn't instant, but it was real. Step by step, I got stronger, clearer. I didn't go back home. I moved in with my aunt instead. Quiet house. No tension, no performance. I brought my acceptance letter with me, the same one from that afternoon, still folded the same way. But it felt different now, not hopeful in the same way. Sharper, more certain. I continued with nursing school. Not because of what my mom wanted from me, but because I understood exactly what it meant to be on the other side of that bed and what it meant when someone decided your life was negotiable. I never saw her again after that day in the office. There wasn't anything left to say, because in the end, she thought silence made me weak. But silence was the only reason she lost everything.
It's unsettling how someone you trust completely can look at you and see cost instead of a person. Makes you wonder, in the worst moment, who would really choose you?